It's another episode of Behind the Broker, the NRG Insights podcast. This is where we interview people who are successful in the market or have made big changes or would generally be interesting in the broker world.
What's the hardest things to learn? Is it the actual skills and the knowledge, or is it the personality? I feel the main driver for me from employing somebody is all about personality. Yeah, because ultimately, if you've got the work ethic and you've got the personality that goes to want and have that desire to grow as an individual and pull information into you, then you're always going to succeed because you're never going to sit still. So again, when we're looking at hiring people, I want somebody to want to be in the office. I want somebody to want to learn, because ultimately, that's how you get enjoyment out of your job.
Yeah.
I think that's the balance you have to have on that side of things.
And do you think
it's tricky?
Yeah, it is tricky as well, because I don't think you're not necessarily not driven if you're working hybrid. I just think there has to be a really good reason for it, right? I don't think.
Yeah.
There's too many. I can't keep saying dogs of anxiety because it's becoming my tagline. I don't want to do it, but there's too many of those that work from home because of the anxious dog. But at the same time, I can see the benefit in both. Like, we run a hybrid model, right? So we're in the office most of the time. But as an MD, I would love everyone to be in all the time.
Yep.
I think we get our best work done when we're all together. I think our creative stuff is better. Even like our social media and that kind of thing. Just learning from each other all the time and going, that's a post. You don't get to do that at home because you're not hearing anyone. It's really easy to hear each other's problems and then go, right, that we can solve that. But
it's easy to be too comfortable as well, isn't it? If you're waking up in the morning, you're going downstairs, you're making a cup of tea, you're potentially staying in your pajamas and you're logging onto your computer, your energy level's always going to be suppressed. It's never going to be at its top 100% because what have you done? You've literally done nothing that. Don't get me wrong, there's people that will go to the gym or they go and walk the dog or they'll go for a walk or something like that. But you could have not spoken to anybody for that period of time. You couldn't have switched on your brain and you couldn't have got your endorphins going.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're an hour and a half below, down on your productivity or whatever you're doing because you've just meandered through the morning.
Yeah.
That daily commute, whether it's 5 minutes or an hour, the reality is that's your time to switch on. That's how you get your focus for that day, and you get yourself in that mindset that goes, right, go.
I did it for a long time. We worked from home for a long time during that period and a little bit afterwards. So it's good. It is good. It feels like we collected the data by doing it, in the sense that we had a team that worked from home. I had this vision of, actually, I could build a company from home. And then 6 months in, you start to see a few problems, and you can't fix them very quickly. And then it kind of snowballs. Those little problems that are 5-minute issues in the office are half-an-hour Zoom meetings, which it means someone's maybe in the shit where they shouldn't have been. You know what I mean? It's so much. Everything's sort of echoed when you're working from home. Problems you can't just turn around and say, "Great job on that one."
Exactly. And look, the case in point, when I'm in the office, if I've not been in for a couple of days, I've been on holiday, whatever. Invariably, the next time I come back into the office, there'll be people that go, can I grab 5 minutes? Can I have a moment of your time? And it's being able to do that. They wouldn't pick up the phone to you because they feel that they're intrusive on your life at that moment in time as well. So it's about having that willingness and want to then have a conversation with people to learn and seek an answer, as it were, as well.
Good. Let's go back to talk. We sort of touched on the team side of things. It'd be really interesting as a kind of a leader in financial services. You came from a bit of a super team, didn't you? If you look at the people that you have worked with in the past, in your team, your sales team previously, I think Precise.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a superpower. If you look at, I think you, Jamie Pritchard, Sandeep Patel, you've all got to higher echelons of the business through that. So my question is, it can't be an accident, right? I mean, it's not luck that a team is built like that. So how was that built initially, and how did you all sort of become leaders through that, or do you think, or was it through something else?
I think do you know what? It takes a step before that as well. If you think of the people that set up that business, your Ian Onegans, your Alan Clearys, John Nixons of the world, the reality is you had some highly driven, highly skillful individuals who wanted to make a difference. They wanted to produce a business that was at the forefront of specialist lending. So naturally, again, you go back to the interviewing and hiring that you would have from that perspective. They're naturally going to seek to build a business with people in it,
Like-minded people,
trust, who they, automatically they're going, right, I see traits of you in me. I can see what you could offer to the team. I can see your personality. I can see you're hungry, you're driven. I can see you've got an opinion and you're willing to voice it. And I think that's a big win as well. You know, we can all be. There's too many people that could be quite meek and turn around and go, well, I'm not going to put an opinion across. I'm not going to voice something. But the reality is, everybody's opinion has an element of weight behind it because they've seen it from experience. And whether it's the right opinion or the wrong opinion, there's going to be some facts around it. There's going to be something that works from that perspective.
How important do you think that is actually about being able to challenge management or being able to bring in your ideas and that kind of thing? I genuinely think, recruitment-wise, I think it's what separates us from the CV sifters is being able to challenge your clients. Some people don't take it as well, and some people do. How important do you think it is in business to be able to accept someone's challenges and also be able to offer them to people?
It's a fundamental. It's a key point. The reality is, look, you take anything. If somebody's willing to give you an opinion, they've thought about it because they wouldn't shoot from the hip, especially if you're in an environment where you're talking up the chain. So if they've taken the time to digest what they're trying to present to you as an opinion, and you should listen to it all the time, whether it's right for you, but you then have to explain backwards to them as to, okay, whilst I appreciate what you're saying, it wouldn't work because of X, Y, and Z, or actually, I take your point. We can mould it, shape it, and make it something different. And you have to be welcome that. But also, from you as an individual, for you to progress, if you're not willing to voice an opinion, you're not backing yourself. So you're always only ever then going to have a ceiling to where you can go because you're not challenging yourself. Because the fundamental for growth and progression is being able to challenge yourself first. Because if you just sit there and think I'm perfect, and I don't need to voice an opinion because I'm always going to do good, you're not. You need to be able to challenge people and say, actually, I don't think you're quite right on this. This is my opinion. This is why. And then, it goes back to why I sit out on the floor so people can have those conversations with us. We're as a management team from the founding directors all the way through. We're there to be approached. We're there to have a conversation with people. We're very open.
And I suppose that's equally important when it comes to like the equality, diversity, inclusivity type thing. It's not so much, it's not having that hive thinking, right? So not everyone's just a yes man for you. Because as you say, if you're surrounded by people going, good idea, you'll never know if what you're doing is a good idea. So I suppose the challenges come from that as well. Having different thoughts in the business is always going to be beneficial, right?
And do you know what as well? It's about that friction point as well. So if you think about sales and underwriting, I was saying this I had the BDMs in the other day, and I was saying you're always going to have an element of friction. If there wasn't friction between sales and underwriting, then
you're something wrong.
Both teams are not doing their job. So you're always going to have an element of friction where you're going to have an opinion or you're going to want and have a desire that's slightly different from theirs. And it's about being able to voice that in the right way, have empathy to the situation and find a solution. But also, don't take things personally. Because as soon as you take something personally, you're then you're setting yourself up for a fall. Because ultimately, you're going to be in a position where you've taken it personally when it isn't personal. It's just about getting something done. So
I do think people underestimate what is required to build a business that is acquirable, and to then do a deal with a potential acquirer and then go through the process to sell it. It's not easy. It's very, very difficult. Going back to the point about Nimish and I, we were able to do it, I feel, because there's two of us. We're able to split our time to make sure the business carried on going, and one of us focused on kind of working with the acquirer, etc. It's not an easy thing to do. I guess going back to the question around what makes a business a good proposition, the consistency, the brand, multiple income streams, and also not just good founders that are the face of the business, but your supporting cast has to have that quality as well. And if you look at the guys that work beneath Nimish and I, if you want to call it that, these guys are just quality people. They've been with us for a long time, that understand the business. And if we got hit by a bus tomorrow, the business can continue. And that I think that for any acquirer is very, very important, because you don't want to have too much risk with one or two people. You need that continuity. Now, of course, we're in with Begbie's for a minimum of 5 years, so there's that consistency anyway. So it hasn't really changed at all,
Yeah,
and that suits us because we never plan to go anywhere
yeah.
for a while anyway. Our work isn't done yet. We still got a lot more that we want to achieve. But yeah, I mean, the standard stuff, consistency of growth. We worked through the COVID, the pandemic, still profitably. We generate good cash. We've got good guys. All of that is just a general thing that you'd
When you're
expect
being
in
bought,
any.
do they literally delve into all of that? They look at your kind of your management and that kind of thing? Because I know you've got a great team. You know, I'm blowing smoke out your ass. You know that you've got a good team, you've got good leaders, and that kind of thing. So I think that's important as well, because not many mortgage companies get to the point where they can go without the founders. Do you know what I mean? I think it gets to a point where
Yeah,
we don't think as forward thinking as other industries where founder can't be the be all and end all if it's your genuine reasons that you want to sell.
yeah, I think so. I think obviously we're slightly different to the standard mortgage brokerage, because our mortgage brokerage is just one part of the group.
Yeah,
So the commercial finance, the advisory brokerage is still the biggest part of the group. The insurance brokerage and the mortgage brokerage are now kind of similar sizes, and the insurance brokerage is growing at quite a rate.
how
So
important has that
it's
been actually, Nick? While we're on it, how important has that been that you've got like revenue streams and people thinking about that? Obviously, people have pivoted a little bit with the market the way it is, but you never really had to pivot, did you? Because you'd already done it. Like that was always the vision of Max. You had
yeah,
the income streams, separate.
that was part of the vision from day one.
Yeah,
That building a business that had, we don't like the term one stop shop. We think it's corny bullshit, but
but it is
but
a one
there
stop
there
shop.
there is some truth to it,
Yeah,
right? So we always had that, and for us, it's all about customer experience. And if you're an entrepreneur that has multiple different requirements, then why not have all of those served by one place? Now, the thing that is really, really important, going back to my earlier point, is the consistency and the level of quality that a client will experience.
yeah,
So what we didn't want to do is set up complementary parts of the business that were just 5 out of 10s when we felt our commercial finance business was a 10 out of 10. And so we needed to build teams and build complementary businesses that were just as good. So, and that took a little bit of time. That was hard. We needed to find the right people. We've made mistakes along the way, in hiring. That's kind of, but
not through
it's
me.
just part. Not through you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have jumped on this with us. Not through you. But being honest, that if we had more people like you around us, right, blowing smoke up your ass earlier on, we might not make so many mistakes. So.
How do you
Um,
think those mistakes come about then? Is it like knee jerk type decisions, or is it just you live and learn? You're like it's hard to put your finger on
people don't appreciate it. When Nimish and I set this business up, we were 28 and 30.
it.
We were kids.
Yeah,
And we grew together, we learned together, we made mistakes together. And one of the things that we had never done when we were in banking, I mean, I've been in banking 10 or 11 years, I think 28, 29, I think actually, when we set the business up. We hadn't really done too much hiring. We had people that we were responsible for. We had small teams that we'd managed, but we'd never hired anyone. I remember hiring someone for my dad in the calf. That was it. I'd never hired
always
anyone in
the
my life.
apprentice.
Yeah, so I'd never hired anyone in my life. So we just didn't know what we were doing. And you realise very quickly the things that you're good at, the things you're not good at.
Yeah,
And that was, we were fortunate that a big cohort of who we brought on, we knew.
right.
And where we started to make the mistakes is once we'd exhausted that.
Mhm.
So if you look at some of the guys like Rick, Tony, Satch, Taz, these guys we knew. My sister obviously works in our mortgages team, so I've known her a while.
Yeah, fair amount.
But
I hope so.
once we'd exhausted that cohort of people that we knew them well, we knew how good they were. Once we'd exhausted that, it was difficult. We then started to make some mistakes, and that's not saying anything bad about anyone that's
No,
worked for
no, I
us
know
and
what
has
you
gone
mean. Yeah,
on,
no, I have
because
done it, and it's, do you know what? We speak to businesses all the time, and even ones that are setting up and they have got a few of their pals or the few of the people they know. But I always say, I'm really honest and go, look, we don't need us for now. Like, get those people in initially who you know, trust, know they can do the job, trust with the brand and that kind of thing. We really step in when you get to that saturation point of going, right, anyone else we're bringing on up that we know is not adding any value, you know, it's not increasing the mean
Yeah.
average of the team. That's when it gets tricky, doesn't it? But
Yeah,
if
it does.
you've got that background, or you know those people already, then obviously it's going to be advantageous to you, isn't it?
Yeah, it helped us. I mean, our first hire was Sachin that Nimish and I offered a job to when we were drunk at our leaving do at Metro. And it's a
Do you
true
remember in
story.
the morning? Did you remember?
It's a true story. I remember when Nim's told me, we've got a member of staff. And imagine that we are, we're a new business just about to start, and all of a sudden we've got a member of staff. Like, fucking hell, really? But
What
it
was
was,
this?
yeah, but Sachin has just turned out to be
Great.
absolute godsend. I mean, he's just still with us, obviously now, and I was going to say don't say this out loud, but unfortunately, I'm on a podcast. So what would we do without Sat? You know what I mean? He knows the business inside and out. He's built it with us. So,
I
and
suppose that's the other thing as
as
well.
have a lot of the others as well. Do you know what I mean?
If they've been there from the beginning, like they've got to, and again, we kind of preach this to people, but people have got to appreciate the journey, right? They can't just, you're not Knight Frank yet. If you want to do that, go and do it. But if you want to join a small business and grow with it, it's exciting, isn't it? Everyone can be part.
Yeah, the management is much more nuanced now than it used to be. You know, in the old days, you're threatened. Everything you do, you're just threatened with being fired or, called names.
Do you know what I was telling you? My only ever employed job, I was constantly, even though I was always top 2 in the company, I was constantly in fear of being sacked. One, because the CEO was nuts, but two, because they constantly let you know that someone else could fill your seat tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
People just quit. You just go, no, I don't need that pressure. But I loved it. I thrived on it. But they never felt the job was safe.
Yeah, it's how you deal with the pressure. I quite enjoyed it, but yeah, it's not. There's better ways. I think I learned more about how not to manage than I learned how to manage. I think there was one really good.
Bad manager.
Yeah,
if you have a bad manager around you, you know what not to do.
Yeah, exactly, and they're the ones who will, they'll bawl you out in front of everyone. There's a real blame culture. It's everyone else's fault, but they're all buying into the same vision is the most important thing. Making sure that you respect each other, making sure that you have ways to make decisions, making sure that you have ways to, when you do disagree, what happens then?
As in like a process of that rather than just
actually have a process in that, if you got 4 people running a company and 2 agree and 2 disagree, what happens? What do you do? How do you work that out?
How's that been for you then, with having more than, or having different heads at the top for a long time?
It was really difficult, actually. We started with 6 of us.
Because there's 6 egos, isn't there? And 6 thought processes and how you want to see the business. So to get everyone's vision aligned with 2 of you is hard enough, I know. So like with 6 of you, it must be quite a task initially.
Well, let's put it this way: there are 2 of us now.
Oh, okay.
But
that's what happened. I see this a lot. I don't want to say to everyone who's going out there and getting up, like 4 or 5 of you going up, 2 or 3 leave. You don't tend to see people, unless you're buying in a C-suite management team. You don't tend to see like founders of 5 or 6 all. I
think change is inevitable. It's going back to that adaptability. I think if I look at the people who were here at the start and aren't here, maybe a couple of them might be delighted, and they've moved on and actually they're doing really well in what they're doing, and they've got more control now, or they just wanted to do something different. Maybe 1 or 2 are pissed off. I don't know, but it's about it's that businesses are living, breathing entities, and they do change. Markets change, people change, priorities change, and it's about how you deal with all of that. And it is difficult. It is very difficult. Every day is
a bit like getting married young. you know, and you just
yeah,
you don't really know what
exactly.
you want yet, and then all of a
Yeah,
sudden it change.
yeah. And I'm not the same person I was in 2009 when we started Coreco. I have the same vision. I have singularity of vision, but I'm not
Your
the same
clarity of vision
person.
actually came number one in they've done I think it was a Gallup survey recently. The clarity of vision was the number one thing in the business checklist that you needed to run a success, or what they, I think it was 30,000 companies or whatever, the number
Yeah,
one thing that came out of that was business clarity, or clarity of vision
yeah,
was the number
yeah,
one for the checklist.
yeah.
The four.
That's really important, and that vision is really important. And
How do you
that's
get 55 people all buying into that vision and constantly making them know, but like keeping them up to date on the vision and that kind of thing? Because you're a bit of a juggernaut to turn. You know what I mean? When people are with new people are joining, leaving, etc. Like it's
yeah.
how do
I
you make
think again you have to be realistic about it. I mean, it's you do see some successful, what I would define as very successful companies who do that incredibly well. But I think the reality of it is you can't be all things to all people.
yeah
And I think if you actually, I'd like to believe that everyone at Coreco loves it and they know where we're going, they're really happy. I would be naive to actually think that.
yeah
And it's about continuing to repeat your vision, continuing to explain changes where you think you need to change or pivot or do something different because circumstances or market dictates. It's about how you deal with people when they're not happy, because you cannot make everyone happy all the time. And yeah, I think there are enough people who have left Coreco thinking, what a great place. I'm really, really pleased I went there. But I have to accept there are also people who think, God, what,
Well, I mean, that is the
wasn't
nature of
all it
bigger
was
business
cracked
as
up
well,
to be.
right? So
Yeah.
you lose 10% of your people, seems like quite a lot. All of a sudden, it's got this revolving door policy, whereas one man band loses 10, or, 4 5 man band loses 20%. It's not a big deal. So it's relative, isn't it? Like it must
Yeah.
be, it's harder to maintain at your end, I'm assuming,
Yeah.
just because.
Yeah, it is hard. It's difficult because I do take things personally, and in my old
Yeah, do you still
hippie.
do you not treat it like a business transaction? I used to take everything personally as though as a personal attack on me. Once I understood that it's just that once it's a business decision, etc., then it kind of makes it easier to swallow. But I'm
Yeah,
like you,
I
I'm not
think
like
I think now I'm a lot more. Yeah, absolutely. But my ideal is still that we have a lovely sitting round holding
yeah.
hands. What a
Everyone
great
wants to come here
place.
and earn money and
Yeah,
be happy. Yeah,
etc. Yeah.